The novel coronavirus is, of course, dominating the news. The big stories of last year seem to fade away, but do you remember the Australian wildfires? 72,000 square miles burned, 6,000 buildings destroyed. Driven by hotter droughts and climate change, they were unprecedented. Santa Fe National Forest firefighter Terrence Gallegos went to work on those fires. He sat down with correspondent Laura Paskus for this month's Our Land and gave us a look ahead to what New Mexico's fire season might be like.
Hi, Terrence.
Hi.
So, what was that like coming from sort of northern New Mexico winter and flying into Australia summer bushfires?
Yeah, it was. It's a little bit of a shock to the system. The travel is hard. It's a 14-hour flight, and there's quite a bit of jet lag associated with that. And then, like you said, you're coming from wearing coats and hats and gloves, and to maybe wearing shorts on your day off.
And what was the landscape like? What were the fires like that you were working on?
So primarily, we were on the coastal area of New South Wales. So a lot of eucalyptus, and then it transitions into like a what they call a coastal heath. But pretty large fires. The state of New South Wales is about the size of Texas. So, and the entire coast was impacted by fires. So if you think about the state of Texas and just imagine one whole side of it on fire, that's kind of what it was like.
And is that like anything that you had ever seen before in your career?
Yeah, I mean, the scale wasn't something that really took me aback, really. We get large wildfires, in the Southwest and in the U.S., as you know. And, I've been on some fires in Alaska that are very large, and British Columbia as well. So the scale didn't really surprise me, I would say. The way the eucalyptus burns, it's very intense. It's probably something similar to what you would see in maybe Florida, because they have a lot of, the eucalyptus has a lot of oils and stuff in it like that, so it makes it a little more explosive fuel model. But as far as the scale, it wasn't something that really shocked me.
So watching from here, watching the news of what was happening, it seemed really different. I mean, I recognize that Australia has these annual bushfires and some seasons are worse than others, but it seemed so big and so overwhelming and really quite scary.
Yeah, it was unprecedented for them, and you're correct. They do deal with bushfires every year, but this year was unprecedented, and they, the folks at New South Wales said that many times. And so when you have that much fire on the landscape, and you have a resource draw, hence the need to bring in some Americans and Canadians, and we actually worked with quite a few Canadians down there as well. So just to kind of bridge that gap, give them some help.
And what was happening, or what is happening, that these unprecedented fires are happening?
I think, for them it was a kind of combination of drought. They had a real bad kind of winter drought, and then it just proceeded right into fire season. They didn't get much relief, so they were fighting some pretty long-term drought in there, combined with, the explosiveness of the fields and how quickly a fire can move in that country is kind of, the big issues they were dealing with there.
One of the things that when I was reading up on kind of the fires as they're starting to die down, that there were, like 5,000 buildings destroyed, and they estimate 1 billion animals died in these fires. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about what you saw and kind of what that was like to be there.
Yeah, so, as you drive down through the coast from Sydney down to where all the fires were impacting, there's a lot of small coastal towns there, heavily reliant on tourism and stuff like that. Beautiful areas, and the fires were so intense that they were coming off the, kind of the upper elevation and moving at a pretty fast rate, kind of downhill towards the coast with the winds behind them. And there was a lot of those small communities that got impacted, and really what impacted a lot of the structures there wasn't just a massive fire front per se, but the spotting there is something that I've never really seen before. There's there's stuff coming out of the air that's 2-3 feet long and on fire, and you know they were saying up to 5-6 kilometers of spotting. So you know that's what impacted a lot of structures, is they just couldn't keep up with the amount of spots that were occurring around people's property and stuff like that. So
when you talk about unprecedented fire, you know, here in New Mexico, it's hard not to think of Las Conchas. Mm-hmm. And we did a show a couple of years ago where we went back to the burn scar. Did you work on that fire?
I did. I was actually the assistant fire management officer out of Española. So at that time, it had impacted our district as well. It started on Jemez and obviously moved through quite a bit of land ownership, and our district was one of them.
I mean, we've talked to a number of different people who have talked to us about like what surprised them about that fire. Mm-hmm. What surprised you? I
think how big it got so quickly. I think it made a 47,000 acre run in about 12 hours. So that's big fire, and that's quick. That's moving pretty quick, and you know, and at that point, it's, you know, column collapse, kind of creating its own weather, that type of fire behavior. Once you start getting that occurring, it's going to get big on you, and it's going to get big fast. And you know, at that point, you're just kind of trying to protect life and property, really.
Can you describe that column collapse and how that, I think lots of us, even from Albuquerque, you could see that cloud that day in June. What's happening there?
So it's building up so much convective heat and putting so much ash and heat in the air. It's like essentially building its own thunder cell. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, when you think about rain and a thunder cell, it builds and builds and builds, and then it dumps rain. And when it dumps rain, you get a lot of outflow winds. Mm-hmm. So that's what a big convective column can do. It's basically like a big T-cell, and then when it collapses, it shoots wind out 360 degrees. And sometimes you get a little bit of moisture with it too.
In addition to Las Conchas, what are some of the other sort of bigger, unprecedented, game-changing fires have you worked on here in New Mexico?
I would say Las Conchas was probably the largest fire that I was on. I wasn't on the one in the Gila, the Whitewater Baldy, which passed Las Conchas for acreage the following year, actually. And when I was on the hotshot crew, we had the Punil fire, which was the largest at the time. So it seems like every year there's a new largest fire, you know, occurring out there. So they're all pretty similar. You know, we kind of like to say fire is fire in this business. It's not. It doesn't really matter what field type is on fire or where you're at. You're still dealing with the same complexities and values at risks and things like that, trying to keep folks safe. So
are there any similarities, especially as you know, people have talked about the impacts that climate change and warming have on forests like the Jemez, even here in the Santa Fe National Forest, and there's been talk of how warming affected the fires in Australia. Mm-hmm. What kinds of lessons are you all having to learn as you're facing these changing conditions?
Yeah, it brings a lot of complexities, and it brings longer duration to our fire seasons. It seems like we're having less and less of a fire season and more of a fire year, it seems like, across the country. So, you know, that it adds a lot of complexities when it comes to resource management and folks on the ground and fatigue and, you know, all that stuff. It kind of starts to compound when you're dealing with, you know, incidents longer, as opposed to, okay, fire season used to be 6 months and then folks had a chance to rest or whatever. But now it seems like, you know, those fire seasons are extending out longer and longer.
And what are you anticipating or planning for this year's fire season?
Well, we got an update from the Weather Service, and they're calling for a little drier, warmer spring. So, you know, that could kind of kick things off a little earlier for us here in the Southwest. But it always depends on kind of that spring moisture. Mm-hmm. You know, being in New Mexico, I'm sure you know that sometimes we get that kind of freak winter storm around Easter or something like that, and that can kind of knock things back for a little while. But if we stay dry through the spring and roll right into fire season, then we could have potential for some kind of larger problematic fires.
And in terms of this winter and spring, are you all doing controlled fires?
Yeah. So during the wintertime, we try to do what we call some pile burning. So a lot of times our fuel shop will kind of create some thinning projects where there's some hazardous fuel piled. We'll try to take care of that in the wintertime. That's the best time to do it. It's not always the best for the smoke because the ventilation can be kind of tough to get a good window for that, but it's a good time to take care of it because the snow keeps it in check.
So I feel like when there's like a big wildfire and lots of firefighters come into a community, we're all super grateful and we get like really supportive, and you see like the signs along the road and people want to donate food and but during like prescribed fire season, it seems like we're not always that welcoming. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what we need to be doing to be supporting efforts, and kind of whether that's accepting smoke or thinking about how to better protect our communities before there's a fire. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, I think smoke is a big thing, and I think that's what kind of wears people's support down for prescribed fire. But I think it's really important to understand that there's going to be some smoke impacts, and maybe they're short duration, but you also could get a wildfire that lasts for weeks. When the Wallow was going, the city of Albuquerque was inundated with smoke for 2 weeks where the air quality got really bad. So it's a trade-off. And I think, as far as the community support, I think it's being that voice and saying, yeah, we want this to happen, because I think there's a vast majority of the public out there that are really supportive of the things we do, the prescribed fire, managing wildfire for resource objectives, but they're not always the most boisterous. So I think just talking with their neighbors and saying, this is a good thing, actually, what they're doing.
Okay. Well, Terrence, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you.
today.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.